Right, so there's going to be a time in this class when we are going to be highly interested in simplifying a fraction that looks like this. And in order to do that, we actually have to go back way when you first started learning about fractions. And if you remember, like when you talked about fractions, if you had like 1/2 over 3/7, okay? In that situation, what you would do is you would do that keep switch flip, or you would say multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. But the key structure of this fraction is that you have one fraction above the main division line, solely one fraction, and below the main division line, you have one fraction. And when you have that structure of one fraction over one fraction, that's when you can do the keep switch flip or flip by the reciprocal of the denominator and multiply. But the issue is if you change this problem just ever so slightly, if you have 1/2 plus 1 over 3/7, you can't do this flip the denominator thing because you don't have one fraction in the numerator. So when it's not one fraction in either the numerator or the denominator, what we have to first do is we have to get an LCD first to get this one fraction over one fraction, and then once it's in that form of one fraction over one fraction, then you can flip the denominator and do the keep switch flip or multiply and flip by the denominator. So the concern with this question, which again we are going to be highly interested in at some point in this class very soon, is that when you look above the main division line, you do not have one single fraction. You have a fraction minus a fraction. So the goal here is to always try to get it so that it's one fraction over one fraction. But if it's not in that form to begin with, you might have to first focus on the part that's not the one fraction and get an LCD. So again, another way of thinking about this is really like, okay, in the numerator, there's a way to subtract those two fractions. So we're going to focus on that first and then do the keep switch flip or multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So to come up with our LCD here, what we are going to want to do is write down the unique factors that we have in each of these denominators. So we have x plus 4, that is one denominator, one factor in this problem. And then we have the 4 factor denominator. Now, because both of these are unique, so this x plus 4, that's one factor all by itself, this 4 is one factor all by itself, because they are unique factors, our LCD is going to have to involve the x plus 4, and it's also going to involve the 4. So our goal is to get just above the main division line, x plus 4 times 4 in each of those denominators. So if you look at the first fraction, you have the x plus 4, but you don't have the 4. So you need to multiply in by 4 over 4. The second fraction, you have the 4, but you don't have the x plus 4. So you need to multiply in by x plus 4 over x plus 4. All right, now the whole purpose again of getting the LCD is that now we are going to have above this main division line, we will have 4 times x plus 4 as a common denominator. And then we look at the numerator. So we have 4 times 1, that gives us 4. We have 1 times x plus 4, which is just going to give us the x plus 4. But do remember, this negative sign needs to get distributed to both of those terms. So this is going to become negative x minus 4. So this, again, is the part that is above that main division line. Simplified, we now have a common denominator, and then in the numerator, we have removed the parenthesis. But we still have the denominator of x. All right, now remember, our goal is to get it as one fraction over one fraction. There is still simplification to do above this main division line. So you see that this 4 and this negative 4 cross out. Again, the 4 here and this 4 in the denominator do not cross out, and that is because addition and subtraction are not going to be undone by division. So there's no crossing out that happens here. The only 4s potentially that can cross out is this 4 that's being subtracted with 4. So the plus 4 minus 4 cross. And let's see what we're left with. We're left with negative x over 4 times x plus 4 all over x. All right, now at this point we are almost there, because when we look above the main division line, we see that we have one fraction. And below the main division line, we could write this x as one fraction if we say it's x over 1. So we will write it as x over 1, and then we get very excited because once we have this 1 fraction over 1 fraction, we can flip the denominator and be home free. So this will become negative x over 4 times x plus 4 times, flipping this denominator gives us 1 over x. Now, there's two ways of dealing with this. What I usually do is I just multiply straight across. You could immediately cross out the x's, but if I multiply straight across, then I see this very, very clearly. This x is being multiplied, and multiplication will be undone by division. So that multiplication and division are undoing each other. The x's we can cross out here, and we are left with negative 1 over 4 times x plus 4. And that is our final answer for a simplified fraction. So this is a very important question. We're going to see this a lot coming up in the future. Just remember, your goal is to get 1 fraction over 1 fraction. But if you're not quite there at the beginning of the problem, then you're going to do these first 2 steps where you get the LCD, simplify whatever you get once you get the LCD, and then you'll be ready to flip the denominator.